What is going on, Sky Squad? We are back in the building, baby, and we is live up in this jamboree, okay? And of course, we are discussing Basketball Wives Season 10, Episode 1. And I got a lot of thoughts about this show, and we're going to break it all down. But before we get into that, if you are in the chatterization right now, or if you are watching for the first time, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell button, and join the texting community at 202-918-3386, and I will send you a notification every time we either go live or when a new video drops, which could be up to about 3 times a day sometimes, because the news is popping right now because there's so many shows on. But one of my favorites is back on, and we got to actually break this thing down because I got to tell y'all, I liked this episode, okay? Also, if you're in the chatterization, let us know where you guys are watching or listening from. I see you, Detroit. I see you, Memphis. Baby, Belgium is in the building. I see that. Come on now, Belgium, all the way up in the Europe, baby. We got you all the way up in the Europe. Thank you so much for tuning in. Who else is in the building? Who else is in this jamboree? We got Houston, New York, Columbia, Charlotte, More, Chicago up in here, San Francisco, Southern Cali, St. Louis. Hey, T-Ness. Hey, Richie. Hey, Boo. Baton Rouge, New York, Phoenix, excuse me. Tokyo. Come on, Poconos. San Diego. Hey, the Six is in the building. Cali, I see you. New Iberia. Birmingham. Come on now. Listen, I don't even want to waste no time here, okay? And again, T-Ness, thank you for the shout out in the super chat. I appreciate you. And as you guys can see, T-Ness is also a member. You guys can join the community by clicking the link in the description down in the video to join the Sky Squad membership if you like, okay? So I'm going to talk to you guys about this episode of Basketball Wives, and I'm going to rate it, okay? Now, you guys may question my rating that I'm going to give it, but I'm going to break down to you exactly why I'm going to rate it this way. I'm actually going to rate this episode a 10. And I want you guys to rate it if you happen to see it as well. And I'm going to tell you why I'm rating this episode a 10 out of 10. And I normally don't give a 10 on the first episode. But the reason I'm going to give this a 10 is because if you are going to reboot a franchise, this is how you do it. And let me tell you what I mean by that. What I mean by that is this. Basketball Wives Season 9 was a 7-episode fail, okay? It was an absolute fail of a season. I'm not sure what they were attempting to accomplish, but it really did not work for the cast, nor did it work for the fans. If anything, what it did was provide an exit strategy for Evelyn and for OG, okay? Now, for me, when I watched this episode, I felt that they did all the right things. Let me break that down for you. The episode begins with Shaunie and Jackie, who are literally the pillars of the two franchises, Miami and LA, but combining them both, they kind of recap the history of Basketball Wives and what this show means for the cast members. And the episode starts with Jackie Christie's vow renewal, which we know that she does every year, and it's year 26 for her. Given that Jackie is technically the only wife who is still married to her husband that she started this journey with, it is appropriate to start season 10 off with that, okay? So you have the perfect setup for which to invite all of these past Basketball Wives stars back into the building. with Jackie as the nucleus of this group. You also have the exit of Shaunie in a natural way, meaning I'm going to pass the torch on to Jackie to be the matriarch of this group, and I will check in as necessary. But we do see her in the beginning of this, and we get a nice scene with her and Jackie. And then also, the reason why I like this is because we have heard that Shaunie and Brandi were cool. But what we see on the screen, because I often tell people a part of the reason why I had an issue with the ending of Selling Sunset this past season was that there was a big breakup that happened, but it happened off screen. We never saw it happen. And I was like, well, we've been watching this whole season about Chrishell and Jason, and we don't even get to see the breakup. So for me, it was interesting to see the history of Brandi and Shaunie come full circle and see the two of them cool enough to sit down, have a conversation, and be good. I just liked so much of the nostalgia of all of this, the deep history with Malaysia and Brandi, and sort of trying to understand and decipher the breakdown of that friendship. And I just feel like I am glad they took their time with this, because this was the perfect reintroduction and the perfect reboot of a franchise that definitely needed it. Okay. And so, as such, I am going to go ahead and tell you, I am going to, I am actually, and I know maybe I shouldn't do this, but I am going to almost act as if season 9 never existed. In my review of this current season, I am starting fresh with this season, okay? Because there was a lot of stuff that happened in the previous seasons that I felt like I'm removing that from the history books for myself personally, okay? Because there was a lot of problems and there were some problematic people. Whether you can figure out for yourself who you felt like was problematic, because I don't have to tell you, because all of y'all already have y'all opinions about who those people are, okay? Now, getting into it, all right? Getting into what actually happened. And those are all the reasons why I gave it a 10. And let me say that. And so when I look at certain Housewives franchises, I would actually say that they could take note from what Basketball Wives just accomplished with this new season. Okay? And it's episode 1. Now, of course, the following episodes need to also match up to this same energy. But if they have taken their time with it, like I feel like they did, then what I can say is I'm fully confident that this will be a season that returns back to form of earlier seasons of Basketball Wives LA that we absolutely loved. Okay? Now, to start things off, we see everyone coming in for their interviews, which I thought was very interesting. It was a fresh take on the reintroduction of each of the ladies, which I was like, well, this is fascinating. It's kind of a breaking the fourth wall. It was reminiscent of what we saw with Love and Marriage DC, with Monique actually talking about how Carlos got her to do Love and Marriage DC. So I love how we start off with seeing the ladies coming into the confessional space to actually get glammed and get ready to do the doggone thing. It's like we jump right into it, and I love that. We start with Shaunie talking about how seasons change, and everyone is receiving very nice invitations to Jackie's vow renewal or her wedding, whichever you want to call it. This is also mixed with past clips, and it weaves itself into a great new intro featuring all of the major players. So I did some visuals, obviously for the episode, because these were, I felt like, the key players of the episode. But really, personally speaking, I mean, we got an intro sequence that featured all of these ladies. And I really, really liked that because, again, it's an ensemble show. And even though these five may be the sort of center players or central cast, it really is an ensemble show with the rest of the addition of these ladies who I believe will play an equally important part. Okay. So I appreciate that. And I'm gonna leave this visual up just for a little bit, just because I feel like I want people who have not seen it, because I saw some people mention in the chat that they didn't even know it was back on. And so I want people to know exactly everybody that's a part of this new iteration of Basketball Wives as we move forward. All right, the first scene is of Jackie and Shaunie. Shaunie is Jackie's daughter, one of Jackie's daughter, I should say. Um, Simply Shamar says, yes, season 9 was the OG pandemic house. While the current season cast doesn't immediately appeal to me, I'm happy they seem to be back to the old formula. Absolutely. It is a return to form. I would say seasons 1 through 5 of Basketball Wives LA. This to me is where we're back to, and I'm actually loving it. We see Jackie and she calls her Shani or Shani. Her name is Chantel, though. Checking out the wedding venue. It's the 26th anniversary. We see Nia and Naria, who are not pictured here. And we learn that Shaunie isn't going to make it to the wedding because her flight is delayed from Houston. Shani says that everybody is Shani, not Shaunie, says that everybody is invited, and we learn that Brandi is coming, and Jackie is excited for some of the ladies who don't know each other to come. The wild thing about this is that as the ladies start to make their entrance, everyone seems to know each other, and everyone, from what I noticed, seemed to know Duffy. And I don't know if you guys peeped that as they were all making their introductions. So we see Duffy and her man arrived. They're still engaged. Angel Brinks arrives next. How she thought that we were all supposed to believe that these ladies would not know that she was expecting is beyond me. Okay, it's beyond me. Now I am far from the person, and I have made a mental choice as I continue to do these reviews that I am not always going to take the sugar-coated, politically correct route. I'm simply going to tell you exactly how I feel. Now, I know it's not polite and politically correct to make an assumption about a woman being pregnant, but honestly, there is no way, based on what we know Angel Brinks to look like, that they would not have known that this woman was pregnant. So to actually act as though this was some secret to be revealed at a later time is very odd to me. But I know the politically correct thing to do is not to say, girl, are you pregnant? Okay. I know enough to know that. But in the back of, I think, all of our minds, girl, we know you pregnant. Okay. That's it. Okay. Brooke arrives, and then Malaysia arrives. Malaysia says she's back in LA for work. Now, when she says she's back in LA to work, I think that Malaysia just means I'm just here to work on this show and get my coin, okay? Because I don't know what other work she's doing, to be quite honest with you. That's it, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. And she gives everyone a dry high, which is a wave, and I'm gonna keep it moving. British arrives, and I noticed, and again, this is where I noticed that everybody seems to know Duffy. Jennifer arrives, and to my shock and awe, she and Malaysia actually sit down and really kind of greet each other. Now, this is a far cry from the Malaysia that was throwing a table or a chair or whatever she threw at Jennifer a couple of seasons ago. But after the last season, which shall not be spoken of, I can see that there could be a way forward for Jennifer and Malaysia as we move into this new season. Now, Brandi arrives and she's nervous because she hasn't seen a lot of the ladies in a long time. And she excitedly actually waves in Malaysia and Jennifer's direction. I'm not sure if she was mostly just waving at Jennifer or if she was actually mostly just waving at Malaysia. But what I do know is that Malaysia did not even turn her head to acknowledge Brandi, but Jennifer did. Okay. So already we know, based on not only hearsay from what we had heard prior to, when the season was filming, but we see it in action here. Malaysia is not interested in a conversation with this woman. Okay. Even though there was best friends. And Jen is like, no, wait a minute. That was your bestie. Y'all not talking? And Malaysia says, not really. It's no beef. We just don't talk. No beef on my end. And Jen is like, but y'all were besties. And Malaysia's story ain't changing. She's like, we just don't talk. I don't have no beef on my end. And I'm like, Jennifer, if it's anybody that should understand what it's like to fall out with your bestie, it is you, girl. And Jennifer does exactly as I would have done myself. Okay, you know what? My name is Bennett, and I'm not in it. Y'all have that and deal with it on your own. I understand your perspective, Jennifer. So in a confessional, we get Brandi's perspective. And we got to look back at their friendship, and she acknowledges that they had a falling out. Now, Malaysia did not say they had a falling out, but Brandi did. Now, Jennifer is like, well, in her confessional, I think she said, best friends don't just break up for no reason. And whatever it is, it must be hella juicy. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, girl, you would know, okay? So Jackie makes her grand entrance in her green dress, and it's appropriate that they're all starting off this season with the basketball wife who is getting married every year. And I wrote in my notes, this is how you reboot a franchise. Now, it's interesting to see who all knows each other because, like I said, each of the ladies seem to kind of know each other in some way, shape, or form, which is not uncommon since they've all starred on the show at some point. Duffy is DJ in the reception. We learned that Angel is in a relationship with Rockstar, and she's waiting to tell everybody that she's expecting, as though they don't already see it. Malaysia is chatting it up with Brandi and Jackie, excuse me. And Brandi says that it's petty that Malaysia hasn't spoken to her. And in my notes, I was thinking to myself, well, you could have easily go speak to her too, but she did do a wave, and Malaysia did ignore her. Okay, so I'm on the fence. Duffy, as the ladies are talking, doesn't think it's a good idea for Brandi to go over to try to have a conversation with Malaysia because it's Jackie's wedding, and Brandi would be upset if somebody messed up her wedding by having some type of altercation or whatever. And I would agree, but Brandi's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. So she goes over to speak to Malaysia as Malaysia is sitting there with Nia and Naria, the two sisters from last season. They have a brief, hey, how are you? And we learned that they haven't spoken in 3 years. Now, the exchange is weird, okay? It's some type of weird energy exchange about how they haven't spoken, and it's really unclear as to why. Then Brandi gets into it, and she says, you know, Wolf died about a month ago. And in my mind, I was like, who is Wolf? But we learned that Wolf was her father, okay? So Malaysia, in my opinion, seemed genuinely shocked. And Malaysia is basically like, I didn't know that. And Brandi is like, but we have mutual friends. And Malaysia is like, no, we don't. And I'm thinking to myself, now listen, y'all was bosom buddies. Y'all was bosom buddies for a long time. How do you not know, or maybe, and listen, it's not that I don't believe her, because I do believe her, because I felt like she looked genuinely shocked, right? And then I'm gonna talk about why I believe her later. I will talk to you about why I believe her later. But it's interesting that she feels like they don't have any mutual friends at this point, because I would assume that you guys have been friends for so long, y'all got somebody in common. But according to Malaysia, they don't. Autumn Fall says Jackie was and is literally the only wife from start to finish. She's the only one who didn't have any issues with her husband publicly. That's true. Malaysia's basically sticking to her story that no one told her that. And Brandi is shocked that she wouldn't know because it was so public. Now, I didn't know this, but maybe people in their overall friendship community would know this, all right? But like I said, Malaysia looks genuinely shocked, and she does apologize to Brandi. Now, in this moment was critical because I felt like this was a moment where things could have potentially turned a corner for the better and maybe brought that back together. But Brandi is not feeling Malaysia's response. And Brandi says, "You knew and did nothing about it," and then she walks off. And Malaysia is once again unbothered. Okay. Malaysia says, "You know what, y'all? I feel like my energy is off. Jackie girl, I'm leaving. I'm out of here." Okay. Jackie runs out to find her. And, Malaysia is, it feels to me, and it has felt to me like over the past 3 seasons that Malaysia is over the drama of Basketball Wives. Number one, she hardly did any promoting for the show. I mean, I feel like she probably was obligated to do some, but I mean, she made 2 posts about the show, and that's about it. We heard that she wasn't really filming much at the end of the season because they had to do some more filming at the end of the in the last couple of weeks and months. And even as she's speaking to Jackie, she says that she's just over it. And if she's the problem, then she will just remove herself. And like I said, these past couple of seasons, she just has felt to me like not very in it. You know what I mean? Almost kind of how I felt like Tammy was starting to check out. I feel like maybe Malaysia is checking out of this franchise, which is unfortunate because she is an OG, and I feel like she still has a lot to contribute. When Malaysia is fired up, it's great. But after 10 seasons, maybe she's just over it. Anyway, that's just my assessment. But both Jackie and Angel Brinks think that there's something deeper going on between Brandi and Malaysia. And, Brandi at the end of the day is like, F her if she wants to leave and doesn't want to acknowledge that she knew about my father's passing. JMW says Malaysia is leveling up and you can't take people with you. It is very reminiscent of Portia checking out of Real Housewives of Atlanta season 13. Okay. So Jackie and Shaunie meet up for a shopping trip as they're both shopping for their booze. Shaunie is gushing about her relationship, and Jackie catches her up on the Malaysia and Brandi beef. We learned that Shaunie is good with Brandi, and she's going to try to figure out what's going on with her in Malaysia. Jackie's going to try to figure out what's going on with Malaysia to try to get them back together. And we learned that Shaunie is going to head back to Houston, and she's going to leave all this madness to Jackie. And I like how they are building this story with Shaunie's place in the group, but also her space away from the group, really leaving Jackie as the true matriarch of this friendship group. Autumn Fall says, since season 5, Malaysia has been over it. Moniece from Love and Hip Hop, Hollywood, Tammy from Basketball Wives, Portia from Real Housewives of Atlanta are Autumn Falls. These are great examples as you are speaking of. And I do see that you guys are letting me know that the Dubai trailer has dropped, and we will recap it after this video. But for right now, We gotta talk about Basketball Wives. Okay. I'm gonna get to it though, because I can't wait to watch. All right. We meet up with Angel and Rockstar, and she relays that they got together during the pandemic. She discusses her pregnancy and whether or not it's a boy or not, and she says that it was a surprise that this pregnancy happened, uh, because she thought she was going to have a molar pregnancy, but it turned out that it was benign. She wonders if people will be mad that they didn't tell anybody about the pregnancy. And Rockstar, just like myself, is like, it's our baby. Like, what we got to tell people for? Who cares if people mad? And Rock wants to name the baby Prince. Okay. Malaysia FaceTimes her kids, and we learn that the kids are staying in Atlanta with their dad for the summer. She says, or she basically says, or they're at least staying with their kids. I felt like they was filming in the fall, so I don't know how they were staying with their dad during the summer, but okay, whatever. She basically says she's in LA to work and make her coin and establish her business. But in my mind, when she says she's there to work, she's just there to film this show and collect her check and go back to Atlanta. And that's in my mind. Now, I don't know what other businesses Malaysia runs, but to me, that's what it feels like, because again, it feels like she's checked out. We also learned that it hasn't been easy co-parenting, and she feels like she's doing it on her own. Now, over at Jackie and Doug's LA home, was Jackie's hair black, blue, and green in that confessional? Because y'all know I am colorblind. But I thought I saw a menagerie of color combinations in that confessional look. And I said, am I seeing correct, or is it just so black it looks blue? I really don't know. Anyway, she talks about purchasing their third home in Sacramento, and apparently he has gotten a new job as a coach with the Sacramento King, which is going to take him, they say being a coach for these teams is more taxing than actually being a player, because they have to travel and scout and do all kinds of things, right? Y'all said yes, I saw correctly. Okay, thank you. And then we see Jackie in a white confessional look. And I was like, now we doing some different things, because y'all know Jackie typically does all black for her confessionals. If you have paid attention to the history of this franchise, you will know Jackie is the queen of wearing all black. So I was shocked to see her in a white, a white jacket or whatever. But I was like, okay, I guess we're trying some new things this season, Jackie. And I'm not mad at you. Jackie is a little bit worried about having to spend so much time apart, and now that he's working more, so she's, kind of like looking like, okay, this is about to be interesting, all right? Shaunie meets up with Brandi, and we get a look back at their history. Brandi reveals that the two of them are beyond their past issues, which is actually nice to see. We learn that Shaunie's gonna go stay in Houston, but keep her place in LA in case you got to make an appearance or two. And then Shaunie wants to tea on her and Malaysia. Brandi says that the relationship has dissolved and relays that she's had a lot of losses in her life, and Malaysia has not been there for her. She says that Malaysia not being there for her truly broke her heart, and Shaunie advises that they try to hash things out, especially if she and Brandi herself can get past their issues, which we know were major. Malaysia meets up with Jackie, and we're reminded of the deep history with these ladies, which is what I love that they were showing last night, is that this franchise is a decade deep. And these relationships go back a very long way. So Jackie wants to know what Malaysia's experience has been like with her ex, Gennaro, being a coach now, and then they're co-parenting. Malaysia says that he has zero time and he has not paid child support, and she is busting her butt to make ends meet. And I feel like this is probably part of the reason why Malaysia appears to be a lot more checked out and tired. I don't understand. This is just me, and I'm a man. So I'm not going to pretend to understand what it feels like as a mother or as a woman to have to experience an ex, a husband, or an ex-spouse, an ex-person, an ex or a baby daddy not paying child support. But I also don't understand why she won't take him to court, as Jackie advises. In my mind, if you're not readily giving me that money to help take care of the kids that you help bring into this world, I am taking you to court. I do not care what you say, what you do. If you are stressing me out by not contributing financially to the kids that you helped create, we're absolutely going to court without hesitation. And actually now, because of my inconvenience with having to go to court, I want the maximum amount that I can get to help raise these kids. Oh yes. Oh yes. We going to court. I'm not going to sit back and work myself to the grind while you sitting out here. Yes, you might have the kids now. I don't really, and that's fine too. I get a little break to come out here and make some coins so that I can contribute to the most of their upbringing. But what you're going to do is you're going to give me that money, okay? Bottom line. No need in feeling, sad, depressed, upset, and stressed when you don't have to. So I don't understand it. If y'all can riddle me why people don't do that, I mean, because I've heard of this a lot, and I'm not understanding what it is. Don't be protecting nobody who not protecting you, okay? So anyway, Malaysia's just tired. Even with Brandi, she just don't have the energy. And she says that, with Brandi, she really didn't know about her dad. And I'm not going to say this yet because I'm going to save it for a minute. But Jackie invites her to a girls' night to just decompress, and Malaysia reluctantly agrees to go. All the ladies arrive to the rooftop and they are asking Angel to have a drink as if they can't see that she is preggers. Okay. Brooke finally admits that she saw the baby bump, and Angel is just like, we haven't gone public with it yet. But I'm like, anybody with two eyes can see. Okay. Anyway, she must not have seen her mom lately because she says she ain't told her mom yet. I'm like, girl, you must be hiding from your mother. Okay. Y'all must be only FaceTiming or talking via text message, because otherwise your mama know, okay? Mamas know everything, whether people know it or not. Mamas know everything. So everybody comes, and Malaysia comes in late, and she admits she has a little chip on her shoulder. She ain't in the best mood, but she got some family issues. And now that we know what those family issues are, girl, I can tell you how to solve that problem, but you're not ready to hear that yet. So Brandi, for some reason, I didn't like that Brandi made this about her, okay? Malaysia coming in with a chip on her shoulder, as Malaysia says, this is my issue. It has nothing to do with anyone here. This is me and what I am bringing. But Brandi, for some reason, is not letting this go, and she is legit coming at Malaysia and basically telling Malaysia in front of everybody else that, girl, you have a character flaw. And while I feel like Brandi maybe is justified in her feeling hurt that Malaysia was not there for her, it also is too that in life, when a friendship begins to deteriorate, oftentimes the party, at least, and I've been on the receiving end that Brandi has been on, where you have had a friend who may be going through whatever they got to go through. And sometimes whatever they are going through or growing through, it won't include you. And that's sad. And sometimes people don't know how to communicate that. Because if they could, it would probably ease the pain and the tension in the situation. So Brandi is still hurt, and she is not letting this go. So Brandi's like, well, let's go talk then. And Malaysia says, I'm not talking to you with the energy that you got right now, okay? Because I got my own issues. And this energy that you bringing me right now, I'm not talking to you like that. So Jackie says, y'all, we have got to start talking our way through these issues. And they decide to go off together and have a sit-down ponderosa about what's going on. Malaysia admits in her confessional that she still loves Brandi, but if she comes at her the wrong way, she's just going to walk away. And when she said that she still loves her, I said to myself, oh, these two women are mad at each other for issues that deal with non-communication. So Malaysia wants to know what Brandi's aggression is. Brandi says that she feels like the issue is Malaysia's reaction to her at the wedding when, Brandi tried to speak and Malaysia basically paid her dust. And Brandi feels like their interactions are awkward. Malaysia says it hurt her that Brandi thought that she wouldn't reach out after her father's death. And the rationale that Malaysia gives her is that when she found out that Brandi had gotten caught the panorama, and she had to find out via social media, that it tore her up on the inside, and she was going crazy, worried and concerned about Brandi's health. So apparently she reached out then, but she's wondering what, like she says to Brandi, if I was that upset and concerned about you when you were going through that, why do you think I wouldn't be concerned about why do you think I would not react to your father passing? Like, why would you think that I would hear it and do nothing? And Brandi is like, basically, she tells Malaysia, that I feel like you were being petty, not contacting me when my father passed, and that you letting your ego take over, okay? And Malaysia tells her, you can't tell me how to be, okay? You can't tell me how I should react to things. And you can't label my responses to things based on what you think about me, okay? I will be honest with you guys. When I first heard that there was the breakdown of the friendship between Malaysia and Brandi, I initially thought, thank you, Jet, for this the super chat. I initially thought to myself, oh, this is for a storyline, right? But as I watched their interactions and I found out the reason for Brandi's hurt with Malaysia, and I'm watching Malaysia and listening to where she is in her life currently, I don't think that this is for storyline. I think that this is something real, because the reason I say that is I would refuse to believe that someone would use their father's passing as a storyline. I don't think I think that this is something that's real for the two of them. And for whatever reason, particularly because they don't live in the same space, Malaysia's mostly in Atlanta. We learn Brandi, I think, is either in Dallas or, in Texas, and, she has that life there. So as time moves on, Brandi's not on the show. Malaysia's still doing the show. It is easier to see that there could be some distance that is growing between the two of them. And now, because you're not talking when bad things happen, neither is there for the other. And there is now an assumption on both of their parts that there is something there. And to be quite honest with you, the reality of life is that we oftentimes just outgrow certain friendships. And that's the bottom line. It's sad, but it's the truth. And the reality is that maybe they just have outgrown each other. But we'll have to wait and see. Again, like I said, y'all, I enjoyed this episode. It gave me a lot of nostalgia and it reminded me a lot of the reasons why I started watching this franchise in the beginning and fell in love with it. If you haven't seen the episode, I implore you to please go back and watch it. It was really good, especially if you might have been a person that was very disappointed with last season or the season leading up to last season. This is a complete reset, and it's nice to see a lot of these ladies back because the energy feels lighter and it feels it has a different feel to it, and the dynamics are different. Jackie is still Jackie, though, and I'll give you that. All right. Now, with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that you guys will stick around for the rest of the season because we're gonna give this show all we got because I'm liking what they're doing, especially after I was disappointed so much with what happened last season. And I hope that you guys feel the same way. It does feel like a season of new beginnings. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next. Oh, first of all, I love y'all. And then I will catch you guys in the next video.